All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're excited for our second episode of Veteran Essays Magazine, focusing on military transition conversation, right? So we've been doing great with this, but our special guest tonight is my good friend, none other than Dr. Shantae Hall. Shantae, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad. It's past time actually, that we connected and did something like this, so I'm very excited. So I'm going to dive right in, right? So you and I met probably back in 2017. Been friends and colleagues ever since, right? You're an inspiration, so thank you. You're an influencer. You're huge to the military community, right? So I want to give you your flowers for that.
Thank you.
Huh.
Like legitimately?
Legitimately.
Oh,
Legitimately.
someone grab some flowers.
They're in the mail.
There.
They're in the mail, right? But all across San Antonio, across the U.S., across the military space, you've done so much and you do a lot, right? Your bio, your credentials, experience, vast, right? But here's what jumps out to me. You're a mom. You're a daughter. You're a veteran, co-founder and CEO of CMA with your dad, Dr. Hall, community builder, and now you're an author. The list goes on and on, my friend, so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get started, we want to talk about Game Day. Game Day is a men's health and veteran-owned men's health clinic who sponsors our podcast. So shout out to Game Day and all the work that you're doing in our military community. Thank you. All right. So now, when did your transition from the military service start?
You know, when did it start? I think military transition starts the day that you join one, right? It should.
True.
It should. And I think for myself, I had the plan like most that we've heard. I'm going to join for a couple years and get my college degree and I'm going to be done. My father was my recruiter, so came from a whole military family. I always joke Dad made goal, and we're all 2 years apart. So it was me, then my brother, then my other brother, and next thing you know, he's Gold Star recruiter and getting all these accolades for us. But that's a different story.
Yeah.
When I chose to get out, it was, one, I would preface back to when I chose to join, family of service, and it's instilled in our hearts. And so when September 11th happened, my father had this career mapped out for me in a sense. Go supply, logistics, 2S.
Soup.
And then college degree would be done. And he was spot on. And then we know the day that our nation changed forever with 9/11. And I think after that, it was just a different mindset. It was a cultural shift of, okay, how do we continue to move forward in a time of war and school changed and all these things changed. And so what I ended up choosing to do is always be mindful every day, to be present, to show up, to do the best that I could. And what I found is on a deployment with the Army, unexpected, and I won't get into that story, but it's always the joke. My commander, still to this day, retired, will call me and say, "I'm so sorry. I know I'm not invited to holiday dinners," which is not true. But his choice at that time for us to be one of the first, because we were a combat logistics squadron, to deploy with the Army, it was very interesting. Learned so many incredible things. But on the heels of coming back, I realized I did not want to stay in that capacity anymore.
Really?
I joined the Air Force, not the Army.
Yeah.
And Combat Logistics Support Squadron was shutting down. This was 2008. And we all had to make choices. Were we going to PCS or were we going to stay put? And I chose I wanted to stay put and get out. Very wise mentor of mine, my father, said at least go reserve.
Okay.
To which I did, and that's when I transitioned to becoming a medic. In 2009, fully got out of active and immersed myself in the reserves.
Wow. So I didn't know that. I did not know until recently when we sat down to talk that you were supply. I was supply as well. So very familiar with CLSS and the work that they do. I was here at Lackland when they shut down Kelly, and they deployed or brought a team in from CLSS. So I know exactly the work that you were able to do there. But I want to backtrack on something. What made you join in the first place? I know you said your dad, but
Growing up in a military family, I don't know one person in my family who did not serve.
Okay.
And so, fun fact, my parents met at Lackland Air Force Base.
Wow.
The old story, airman story of you shouldn't have gotten married, you shouldn't be dating, and look at them now over 40 years later. showing my children what it looks like to stay true and to
Yeah.
keep the military values. So that was as simple as it is. It was, we believed in service, and to do anything but join as an enlisted member
Mm-hmm.
meant serving something other than your country at the time.
Yeah. So, with your family's long and extensive service to the military, do you think your kids would serve?
They both actually talk to me about it all the time. It's an interesting concept. My son will tell me I'm going to be a firefighter, and my daughter will
Service.
tell me service, but then he'll go deeper and say I'm going to be a firefighter in the Air Force. And my daughter has said she's interested in Space Force, but she truly wants to become a veterinarian, and she knows that if she joins the military, it helps pay for school, but she can also be a vet tech or a medic. And so they do talk about service. And I think to that point now, growing up instilled with this family of service, my brother said something very insightful recently as he's now transitioned to, has a PhD, he's Secret Service. And he said, being around all the people that I'm around, they don't have this family of service mentality. It's this, what are you going to do for the family business? What are you going to go into? How much money are you going to make? How much? And here, as military service members, we find ourselves and we find our children growing up. If you truly believe in service, even after, my children haven't seen me worn the uniform. They were very, very young when I got out. So to know that they still believe in it means the world to me.
Yeah.
Do I want them to serve? I'm not sure. That's
Maybe.
a whole nother topic.
Maybe not.
But I want them to follow their hearts, and I couldn't be more proud of that.
Yeah. I feel like one of the two will serve in some capacity because of the work I think that you and your dad and your mom do in the community, and they see that, and I think they'll gravitate toward that, right? Those seeds that you guys are already planting of service, though, right?
Yeah.
So now let's go into your transition, right? What did that look like for you?
So, again, I was thankful that I slow rolled the transition process
Okay.
and becoming a reservist. And I learned so much on the journey that we had the joke prior to, our deployments that the reservist or guard would show up and they might not be as prepared or as stout as we were. And so being a reservist showed me that there's so much that goes into it. And arguably they could suffer more during a transition.
Yeah.
And so I started realizing the difficulties there, which honestly really helped my transition, because I've shared with you before, I started feeling sorry for myself one day.
Yeah.
I got out of active duty. Why did I make this choice? Was it the right choice? And I think anyone who got out prior to retiring has had that thought.
Yeah.
And I was driving and I saw this huge sign that said Soldiers Angels right across from BAMC. And I was a medic working at BAMC. And so I went to work and I thought, I'm going to Google that when I get there. And I found out that they were shipping off packages. And obviously at the time, ops tempo was very high. So you're looking at from 2009 to 2012. And so I ended up walking in and found out that they were this huge warehouse that needed help. I connected them with our supply tech school at Lackland.
Okay.
And started forming these relationships and learning more about community. And it was instilled immediately. I could feel that we volunteer in the military, that voluntold part came out. And I thought, oh, I've been missing this.
Yeah.
And I realized that our communities weren't short on need. And I'll tell you, that made the drastic impact during my transition is for a moment, I looked at myself in the mirror a little too long.
Okay.
And as soon as I removed that blind, those barriers, and saw others in need, it was just this trailblaze then of I'm going to do whatever I can with the God-given time that I have.
So you were tapping into your passion. Would you agree?
I would agree, and I'm going to counter really quick and say, service. I'm a faithful woman, and I truly believe as a faithful woman that we were instructed with one job to do, and that's to show love. And so oftentimes when we come into a room, especially when you're dealing with servants, servant leadership mentality, most of us military fall into that category, and we ask them what their passion is when they leave service. That could be this drastic, just gut-wrenching moment for us to think, wow, did we just lose what we are supposed to be doing, our passion, our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always say this, my purpose is I'm a living, breathing human.
Okay.
No matter what I believe in, and my passion needs to be breathing. Every day our mission's going to change, the needs are going to change, the
Okay.
demands, but I've got to be on mission to breathe.
Okay. You got to be on mission to breathe. Breathing allows you to what? Does it allow you to focus? Does it allow you to tap into that new mental of what's next? Because, what year did you separate?
2009 from the reserves, and then
Okay.
2014 was my next transition.
Okay. So there had to be a lot of resources during that time. Would you agree?
Yeah, so I would say when I first transitioned out of the military, there weren't that many resources at the
Okay.
time. I remember sitting in TAP 2008 and looking at each other with our resumes. It's the
Yeah.
old joke of, no, you did a great job and you're going to go far. And I had a plan. My passion at the time, I'll tell you, was fitness.
Okay.
My passion to this day, I would say, I still love working out. I still love physical fitness. The elements of who I am, outdate go back to, if you pull up my Facebook from 2009, you'll see faith, family, fitness.
Yeah. Still doing the videos.
Still
Yep.
doing it.
Yep.
Faith, family, and fitness. And so back then I thought, no, I'm gonna fall into this term and follow my passion and open my gym. And what I started finding, especially with Soldiers Angels, was Texas at the time was dumping millions into mental health resources, trying to figure this out. What's happening to our veterans? And unfortunately, there were different organizations, and I worked for one called Grace After Fire, which is still
wow.
a great organization to this day.
I did not know that.
And what I found was meeting vets under bridges or sitting in a room with maybe just women
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just talking that kumbaya. That's not me.
Okay.
I'm an action oriented type of, and so I had questions, right? Okay, we can sit in a room, we can share a bourbon, we can have a glass of wine, we can have a conversation, but what comes after that?
Yeah.
How do you encourage and motivate someone to get up, to use their GI Bill, to use a benefit, to reach out to state what the need is, to look at financially where they, and that's honestly what led at the time to Centurion Military Alliance, CMA.
CMA. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
extensively here in a second. But, why do we do that from a mental aspect? Why do you feel as though veterans transitioning military spouses, why do we get stuck?
Arguably, Quincy, humans get stuck,
Okay.
right? And I think now, being a professor even at University of the Incarnate Word and going through and helping the students stay successful,
Mm-hmm.
being a mom and making sure my children stay successful, where are those tough, difficult positions that you find yourself in? And again, arguably, I'd say that's the person that they get lost in their own museum.
Yeah.
They get lost in the mirror. They get lost. If you can't look outside, and my call to action for our veterans is to look outside of yourself and remember why you chose to serve in the first place.
Yeah.
And life is going to be difficult. You're going to have many transitions. I have a dear close friend right now, senior exec, has held all the most incredible positions you could ever imagine, from being presidentially appointed to where they are now, all the education, all the credentials, and yet is without a job right now
Yeah.
and going through that next transition. Life comes at us fast.
Yeah.
But as servant leaders, as our spouses, and our children watch us, we have to be willing to get up, to show up, and to be present in our communities. Again, we're not short of need, especially here in Military City, USA.
As we're unpacking some of these topics, right? The scripture, many are called and few are chosen, comes to mind, right? I think you, myself, and a couple of others are that few. Talk about being a part of that few. Talk about some of the pain points that you've experienced, and then I want to go into CMA.
Oh, many are called and few are chosen. It's a tough scripture because we hope, we pray, we have this desire that we can bring all with us, right?
Yeah.
Lock, stock, we're all in it together. And we have a lot of people, and these are just facts. They end up wanting to go their own way.
Yeah.
They're so bound and determined that they have all the answers, and they fail.
And it's hard to watch it, though.
It is so hard to watch it. And when I say fail, I mean, I'm talking about the ones that have given up completely. I'm
Yeah.
talking about when we lose someone to suicide, when we lose someone to drug and alcohol abuse, when we lose someone, fill in the blank. Someone asked me the other day, they said, Shantae, you tell all these stories, but what's frustrating is that you're not sharing a story where you failed.
Mm. Hmm.
And I sat and stared at this individual and I said, because I'll tell you, I haven't failed.
Mm.
And that's not being high and mighty.
No.
That's have I fallen? Have I taken a knee? My track record shows I've been single mom, fill in the blank. There are moments where I've paused,
Yeah.
but I'm not failing. Failing is completely giving up. I think, again, this goes to our children when they're in school and they get an F on a piece of paper and they go home feeling like they're a failure. And I've told my children, you're not failures. Maybe you didn't study enough. Maybe
Yeah.
you weren't as invested as you could have been. Maybe the teacher wasn't there for you. There are all these possibilities
Yeah.
as to why you did not succeed on that test,
Yeah.
that mission, that job. But you're not a failure. And I think as a culture, we have to change the words that we are feeding each other.
Well, I think, sometimes I'm a positive person and you'll probably never see me posting anything or sharing anything that's negative. And I think in our today's society, people want to see the downside. They want to hear the negative twist or the negative story, or it could be an aha type moment for them, right? But it's interesting that you mentioned that because I agree, we're not failures, right? We're not built to fail, we're built to succeed, which goes back to the scripture. Many are called if you're chosen. If you're part of that chosen, you're going to always create a win-win situation or scenario.
And God doesn't make junk.
No, I agree. I agree. Talk about some of the resources though, outside of CMA that you jumped into. I know you mentioned Soldiers Angels and Grace After Fire, right? But from a transition standpoint, day one, boots on ground, what organization did you gravitate toward?
Honestly, Quincy, my family, and so
Okay.
which really led to the mission and that goal later is that I realized my mother had gone through transition. My father has two very separate transition stories, which would shock people.
Yeah.
One that he's never shared, and I watched my family kind of always navigate and go through these transitions with resilience,
Yeah.
with grace, being adaptable, focused on faith, family, and together they were unstoppable. So when I started navigating these changes, I had the people right there that I needed.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment when I started working for some of these other nonprofits and looking at what the state of Texas was doing at the time, and again, incredible resources. The Texas Veterans Network was
Yeah.
being built at that
Yeah.
time. I had the opportunity to work for the Texas Veterans Commission. And what TVC is doing is phenomenal alongside our Texas workforce centers. But there's a call to action, right? When you
Yeah.
look at an organization like the Texas Veterans Commission, they want to make sure education, finance, and employment, that there's goals. This isn't just, I'm going to write you a check, a handout, a free dinner, a free.
Yeah.
It was that call to action. And so for me, I wanted, I thought they were doing great work, but how can I help? How can I further help? How can I get further upstream before our military transitions to figure out, like you asked earlier, what's going on in their brain?
Yeah.
What is the mindset that they have when they leave that military installation?
Yeah.
That unfortunately causes them to fall for a while or to struggle or to, because our communities, again, need us.
Yeah.
They need us. Our employers want to hire us because of what we stand for while we're serving. And then we get out and we look anything like but what we just came from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the transition piece. It's the mental shift. It's the career pivot, right? And it's a strategy. I remember vividly having a conversation with you when you went to work from TVC, because if I remember correctly, you came from DC to Austin,
Mhm.
right?
That's right.
Yep. Okay. How do you determine whether you're going to work for a nonprofit LLC, or an entrepreneur? What is that conversation like in Shantae's head?
I always love when people say, well, I want to get out and work for myself. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to answer to anyone else. I don't want to, you fill in the blank. And I'll never forget, I had shared with you that I had my own gym for a couple years here in San Antonio. And every morning that I woke up, again, I obviously, I still love fitness.
Yeah.
But I realized that the fitness that I loved, the component of it, was the military camaraderie piece. The blood, sweat, and tears together. The change that overcomes you after you're dying from a ridiculous, workout that the military just decided you need to do just because.
Yeah.
Then I found myself going to work every day and showing up at 4:30 in the morning. Running a business is a whole lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A whole lot of work. And we sometimes think again, well, I'm just ready to pivot or jump into that. And we negate the truth that we've had a team for so long. We had someone calling us and telling us when our dental appointment was.
Yeah.
Reminding us of our hospital appointments.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, there's only one hospital. You don't have to worry about navigating 6 different phone numbers and all these other nuances that happen in the civilian sector. And so I learned very quickly that I'm answering to every single person who comes through that door. When they ate those cupcakes and wanted to come in and complain that their bodies weren't changing.
Yeah.
I couldn't call them the names that maybe I was thinking in my head because I was working for them.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, and my boss asked me, now in my job, I'm the chief of community engagement for Port San Antonio. I've had multiple jobs since I've transitioned, and I'll never forget Jim Pershbach sitting me down, and he said, "What do you want to do? Because you could do anything."
Yeah.
And at the time, I was a consultant for him, and being a consultant was great, but I'm also a single mom.
Yeah.
I'm also carrying other hats, running CMA still, doing things that I feel haven't died on the vine yet. And as long as it's there, I'm going to continue running with it. And I said, Jim, I need one person in my life to commit to me. I need to feel a level of peace when I go home at night that I have a day job. No doubt in my mind, I can do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
To make sure that I'm raising successful children. But I want a job that I can go to every day and still feel like I'm serving, being a part of the community, and calling it a day.
Okay.
And he said, okay. He goes, that I can get behind. And that level of support was so great. And so, to answer your question, whatever job comes, whether entrepreneur, LLC, nonprofit, you have to look at what's in front of you and go, okay, what job can I stay in? What job right now do I need financially? What's that bottom line number I need to make? Maybe you have to have several jobs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, true.
You might. People ask me, why are you still a professor? I don't know which card I'm going to have to throw out on any given day.
Yeah, and it's like, why not? Why not do it, right? It's multiple streams of income. And I think that's one of the things that as veterans or transitioning military, we're so caught up in the structure of what we've been able to do for the last X amount of years. Now, as you build your strategy for pivoting, the structure's out the door, right? You have to build your own table. You have to, create opportunities for yourself. You have to show up, right? What does that look like when it comes to showing up?
How about this great example? I got this call one day from one of my dear brothers. Yep. Of course, it's you, Quincy, saying, hey,
here we go.
Would you like to look at this chamber position? Volunteer, they're going through some changes.
Yeah.
And I said, absolutely. I think your first question was, could you think of anyone? Because that's called kind of a form of mind manipulation,
that was the
right?
bait.
Like you kind of want to, it was the bait. Like, is she going to take it? And at the end of the day, when someone calls you and asks you to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
You do it, right? The answer is yes. Now, I'll counter and say there are times where no is appropriate.
Yeah.
But by saying no doesn't mean you're saying no. It means you're saying yes to something else.
Yeah.
And that's very important to be mindful of. And so anytime, whether, we're helping and volunteering with the military advisory committee for the Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, or Big Brothers Big Sisters, any of these nonprofit and organizations that have called, I've said yes, but also knowing that they align with my overall passion, service to ensuring we're raising the next generation of future warriors. And so I feel that when called upon for certain roles like that, if I don't step in and be a part of something of where I feel God has positioned me for it,
Yeah.
I have the time, I have the skill sets, and of course, talking it over with family. But I'll tell you, so many opportunities come because we've chosen to volunteer.
There we go again with that word chosen. You were chosen, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it's the curse, but it's almost like the gift and the curse, because when you're good, when you're passionate about this military community and helping everyone find opportunities, right? Sometimes, depending on the role, there are only certain people um, that fit that bill, right? And I had to learn the power of saying no, because I have a family, I have a wife, I have kids who are active. I have my own personal, endeavors that I want to see get off the ground, right? But it's hard to say no sometimes. Would you agree?
You know, I would, and this, I wrote about this, and I think it's very important. It's a lesson my father taught me. I was coming back here from working for the Department of State, and I'll never forget because Centurion Military Alliance has been here.
Yeah.
I've been a part of this community since I got out in 2009, and so San Antonio is home.
Yeah.
And so having this home approach and coming back from working again in DC, my father said, everyone's going to call you as soon as you get there.
Hands down.
He said, everyone's going to call you, and you need to stay true to what is aligning with your values. And compassionately be able to say no, but possibly navigate to, well, maybe have you thought about this person? Have you thought about this person? So I think it's important that we start to build that Rolodex and building and inspiring those who are going to come after us, providing them opportunities every once in a while. They might not fully be ready. They might not fully be sure. But to start grooming and molding and making sure that they have the same Rolodex as you do.
Yeah.
Right? Sustainability.
Community building.
Community building. You've got to have it. And I think, at the end of the day, God forbid something happens to me. I don't want it to be, the spirit and intent and the heart that Shantae had is gone.
Yeah.
No, I want it to be found in someone else. And that's our mission. And again, my number one job is to simply show up and show love.
Yeah. Showing up and showing love. CMA, Centurion Military Alliance. Let's talk about that. How did that get started?
Again, my dad. I'll tell
Shout
you
out
what.
to Dr. Hall.
Yeah. Shout out to the first doctor in our family. My dad was actually pursuing his PhD at the time in educational leadership, and his dissertation, multidisciplinary, was done at the Sergeant Major's Academy for the Army.
Okay.
And it was a lot of talk about mentoring and stewardship.
Okay.
And what he found was some would say, well, no, I'm not a mentor. But they'd look to someone else, they're mentoring me. Or I'm not and we're doing a disservice if we don't realize each of us impacts someone else.
Yeah.
Each of us impacts another, and none of us get to where we are alone.
No.
Not one of us. And so I was interested in his study, and he started looking at the transitioning component. And I was coming home every day again from working for Grace After Fire.
Yeah.
And now I was a director at the YMCA at the time in Shirts.
What haven't you done?
Texas. And so, I loved my YMCA days. I'll tell you, I was able to successfully sell my gym because my father told me during that time, don't get that degree in kinesiology, get that degree in business.
Yeah.
And I listened to him. It was, look at these evergreen pathways so that no matter what comes your way, you can always make a change.
Yeah.
So at any point in life, I've been able, again, to pivot, to flex. It hasn't been easy. There's been some ugly crying. But it's having that ability because I knew who I was. I was grounded in me.
Yeah.
And It's like they say when you get on a plane, right?
Hmm.
You've got to put your stuff on first before
Yeah.
anybody else. And so my dad, I came home and said, Dad, I really want to start a nonprofit. We need to do more. We need to do something.
Yeah.
And my father is very stoic. And he sat there and he's like, all right, there, you millennial. I just turned 43. He's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And it's Texas. We're sitting out there. He's got his beer. I got my glass of wine. We got the fire pit. We're like, so we start stewing over what that would look like. And at the time, the Department of Defense VOW Act focused on education, which they still do, finance, and employment. And so Centurion Military Alliance, my father and I co-authored a multidisciplinary curriculum that focuses on educational attainment, financial literacy, and vocational proficiency on a foundation of holistic health, well-being, and resilience. And so when you think about a service member leaving the military installation, overnight, all three of those pillars are rocked.
Yeah.
Overnight. Your education, regardless of rank, no longer speaks to your vocation. Financially, where are you going to be? How long can you make it? When do you need an exact paycheck? And in the military, we can do ourselves a disservice by looking at rank and going, oh, they'll be fine. Or they have that degree. Or they're getting out with that rank. And so for us, we wanted to make an impact and, again, get further upstream to say, where are you at financially?
Yeah.
I really don't want to talk to you when you've already transitioned. I want to talk to you a few years to say, what are you positioned to do?
Yeah.
And so where those pillars of education, finance, and vocation intersect is what is called positionality.
Yeah. Heard that word once or twice.
And people will get stuck. Okay, we'll explain positionality, but it's such an important word because at any given time in life happens, and this isn't a military term.
Yeah.
This is a term that will help you define and navigate. We recently had at Fort Bliss over 4,000 troops.
Wow.
And I asked some of them in the room, financially, who needs a JOB the day they leave that gate?
Yeah.
Truth, raise your hands. All ranks raised their hands.
Yeah.
So if you know financially that you need a job, and then bottom line, what's that number? We think we're six figures, right? Oh, we want, this is what we want to make, everybody.
Yeah.
And you might have to have a couple jobs in order to make it. Arguably in the military, we had a couple different jobs.
Yeah, we did.
Right? Couple different roles that we'd play. I think we have to have, again, that same mindset as we're looking out to our spouses. We've had spouses that have said, well, my service member's retiring.
Yeah.
They're done. Yet they want the same lifestyle that they had while they were in. Well, we love our Amazon, right?
Yeah.
But Amazon doesn't care if you went to your medical appointment.
No.
Amazon cares that you're meeting that bottom line.
That's it.
And so we have to be very mindful with our own expectations. And I truly believe and know that Centurion Military Alliance is helping. There's an assessment. Again, we teach. We have them sit down and take an assessment. Because you've got service members, or again, I'll go back to college students, that are sitting down with counselors. Let's take high school students navigating, sitting down with counselors who may never have been in corporate, who may have never served in the military. They only know what they know, which is called a bias. And so how now do we navigate in understanding who we are truly to the core, and then understand that we all come with a bias?
Yeah.
How do you get past that bias?
That's hard.
And in the civilian sector, they don't care. I might not hire you because I just don't like the way you smell.
Yeah. They have to know you, like you, and trust you. Shout out to Susan Mestasio who taught me that.
Woo! Oh, we love Susan. Yeah. And so for CMA and sitting down with this assessment, I have our military families and service members sit down and say, okay, what do you think you are in the civilian sector?
Yeah.
They write it down. What's the salary? Where do you want to live? Where do you want? Write these basic things down, because before they ever talk to a counselor, before my bias sets in, I need them to articulate who they are, where they are, financially where they need to be. And through that, what I found, and then my doctoral research, is my white papers actually leads to mental health.
Okay.
So suicide, drug, alcohol abuse, and why these negative statistics exist. Because again, you get out, you lose all hope.
Yeah.
Overnight when your world's rocked. Shout out to my dear friend and my wingman, Bob Labruta. Our first conversation, he said, wingman, I applied for USAA, like for whatever job that was out there. Now today he is, I'm so happy for him. He has his dream job and he is crushing it at USAA. But it has taken him years and he's worked hard for it and he's shown that, and it wasn't due, he's a retired major general, had nothing to do with the rank. And he'll say it, I went from 2 stripes to 2 stars to 2 stripes again. And so it's very important that individuals understand this regardless of rank when we get out. It's got to be focused on what are the demands right now on society.
Yeah.
Globally, we're not competing anymore, text to text, masters to masters, captains, it's soldier to soldier. This is a global competitive world for employment. The pandemic taught us that. How are we positioning ourselves
Positionality, that word.
for success?
Yeah.
And that comes down to no matter what we go through, when life gets tough, we have to know who we are to the core.
Your value impact, right?
Yeah.
A lot of it is your value impact. And in my role, I get to talk to a lot of transitioning military, and you touched on this. Everyone wants 6 figures. But do you want and can you do 6 figures worth of work on a daily basis? Are you ready for that as you transition out, right?
Yeah, and I think there's a fear factor. I'd be lying if I didn't say there's a fear factor with civilian employment.
Yeah.
And always ensuring that I am doing the right thing, that I'm working as hard as I can.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've been able to share that with my boss to say, I need feedback.
Yeah.
But I communicate. And so to the ones that don't communicate, or they think they can just show up and, well, I was this rank and I'll be good to go.
Think again.
Think again. And again, it's what are the needs of society?
Yeah.
And in my heart, I push for this because I want us to be successful, but more than that, more than seeing one of us succeed, I want us to be setting up pathways for future generations to succeed.
100%, no doubt, right? Because there's someone getting out, whether they're retiring or separating every day. There's a spouse that's leaving, Peterson Air Force Base today because her spouse or his spouse isn't transitioning out for the next 6 months. So they're going forward, kind of setting up what that looks like, right? How do you advise spouses? Because that's a different mindset, right? Because they've been carrying the bulk of the load while the spouse has been deployed, right? Or off doing their job. What's your number one, I guess, piece of advice for our military spouses?
It's the same advice that I give anyone.
Okay.
Again, you've got to know who you are. And the danger and the trappings is when we define ourselves by a title, we're going to at some point mess up.
Yeah.
We're going to go through some struggles if we don't forewarn ourselves. And I look at, as a wife, I loved being a wife. Loved it. I thought one thing I asked God for when I was a little girl, I wanted to marry someone just like my daddy. And I just thought that was the role for me, to be the wife and then to be the mother. And what I found in holding a title like that and then going through the transition that I had to go through was, again, I can't define myself to what I think a worldly role needs to be.
Yeah.
I can't get lost in that. And the second day, I'll never forget my baby boy. He was 6 years old at the time when I became, their sole parent. And I'll never forget my baby boy coming up to me and he said, "Mommy, can you get up and get ready like you do for CMA?" And what that said to me is, one, get up and put on your war paint, right? But that little boy taught me so much is that I realized really quick, okay, you know what? My financial pillar has been rocked.
Yeah.
I was Miss Volunteer. I did everything in the home, from cooking, cleaning, making sure, my ex got his education, to any support you could imagine, to then volunteering in our community. Thankfully, I knew the relevancy, and I always ensured I had my education along the way as I made these decisions.
Smart.
Lifelong learner. Strategy.
Yeah.
Lifelong learner. And so though my lesson, when I look at like my situation and the lessons I learned from that of, okay, my financial pillars rocked, but I know my level of education. I was working on a doctorate at the time. I had an MPA with an emphasis in government and policy. I had certifications in HR, and I knew who I was. I knew I could come in and ace an interview, win someone over. Might take some time.
Yeah.
But those who don't like me, I'm still going to win them over. Right? I always say that. I'll never forget fun, cute story deployed with one of my dearest friends to this day. And she did not like me. She was a tech. I was a staff sergeant. That deployment to the Iraqi border. And we get to our tents and we have to share. And she looked at me and she goes, well, I get bottom. I said, okay, I'll take the top. And later on, she goes, and I still don't like you. I was like, that's okay. A couple weeks go by, and she's doing her hair. African-American woman doing her hair. She looked at me and she said, I swear to God, if you ever tell anyone, we're done. I go, did we just become best friends? She laughed, and from that moment on. And so I share stories like that because I think, again, when you look at another human and you think you have such disdain, you have to really check yourself and ask yourself why.
Yeah.
To carry hatred over, why? Now, that doesn't mean we need to let every single person through the doors of our home.
Facts.
Right? There is a difference between those two. But we really have to, again, figure out and look at ourselves and know, again, our bias and know who we are. And why does it come down to education, finance, and employment? Because we are called to work.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And so to our spouses that find themselves getting stuck, or when your children start getting older and they're going off and you find yourself with maybe less things to do with the house, more time on your hands, you need to know who you are. And it's not always the negative stories. It's not always, because of a fight or hatred or divorce or, my goodness, what happens if something happens to one of you, and who's willing to step up? And so I really look at relationships and people and friendships as you have to have those hard conversations. My best friends, my wing sister, Casey Boomershine, Casey knows where I might fall or trip, she's going to be there to pick me up.
Yeah.
We're not the same. We're not the same, arguably, jokingly, politically, religiously, on a lot of different things that you would think, and yet she's my wing sister, and we have each other's back.
Yeah.
It's knowing who you are, knowing what the goal is, and knowing that, again, you want to bring people with you along the way.
I love it, right? So to this point, right, we've talked about you being a mom, a daughter, a veteran, co-founder of CMA, a community builder, all the other accolades, education experiences. But I'm dying to know what's the impetus behind this book.
Yeah, so I just announced and shared it's coming out in the fall. Soft, stoically optimistic females triumph.
Okay.
Say that a couple times.
Stoic.
Right? Stoically optimistic females triumph.
Okay.
And so the name came one night around 2:30 in the morning from my father.
Was it over a beer and wine at the fire pit?
He was sleeping. No, this was 2:30 in the morning. I wake up and I think that man's not sleeping all night.
Yeah.
He's in my mind obviously brilliant, and to so many others. He's always thinking. He's always working. He's always moving. This man is he's my rock. And so I looked at it and thought, Now, for years, people have been asking me to write a book. Oh, Shantae, you need to write a book. CMA, Dr. Hall, you need to write a book. And I'm a firm believer that there's one book that we should all subscribe to and read every single day.
True.
And we can't even do that. And so when he texted me that, I was kind of set back and I said, Dad, he, with tears in his eyes, he said, you've been through so much in your life. There's so much. And let me make it crystal clear, this book is not about me, but it is a call to action. It's a movement for, and not just women. Right now it's geared towards women. But some of the people that have endorsed my book and written my blurbs, from SEAC number 4, CZ.
CZ. Shout out to CZ.
Shout out to
Suavemente himself. We go back to Kadena Air Base, where I worked for him.
Yeah. Incredible human. SEAC number 1, Joe Gainey, who has never left my side to check in on me. Chef Robert Irvine. Joanne Bass, to Laura Corner with Texas Veterans Commission, to my girl Angie Leonard, who started Air Force at Lackland and now runs her own government contracting company, Intelligenesis, on the Port San Antonio campus.
Wow.
To my wingman Bob Labuda, to Casey Boomershine, 502nd Command Chief, retired, and now doing incredible things with Spectrum. She wrote the foreword of my book.
Okay.
A lot has gone into this, and I share all that briefly because I look and I think, when you think men and women, and I never want to just subscribe to one gender over the other, but women have, in a sense, we live in a society that tells us to be hard, to put on a face, to be more masculine. And I've been told multiple times throughout my career, you're too soft. You're too loving. You care too much. You're too nice. You're too sweet. But I still always led with love.
Yeah.
I didn't let someone's words define me. And so my father said to me in tears, "You've always been soft." And it's kind of the joke of the community, because he was soft. He was pararescue when he first started in the Air Force. And I love my soft community, right? Remember, I'm single, so I love my soft community. And so soft made sense. It was, I'm feminine, I'm soft in approach, I'm loving and kind, I show up with empathy, yet I'm stoically optimistic. And to be stoically optimistic, you can be optimistic. But in the workforce, to show up, to be present, to go in a world, again, that's trying to define you. To remain stoically optimistic while embracing the soft, I truly believe in my heart it's a movement that I'm excited to share with this generation and the next. My daughter gets excited and also teases me about it. But I think it is a message that's very important, again, in a society that promotes being hard and rigid.
I love it. I love the title. I love your explanation of the book, and I'm looking forward to it. So how can folks follow you when the book drops?
Yeah, so the launch will be in the fall.
Okay.
And right now I'm sharing on all social media channels.
Okay.
So please feel free to follow. I would say connect with me on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn caps you at 30,000 connections.
And I'm sure you have way over that.
I have over 30,000 followers, and I'm capped at the 30,000 connections. I wish LinkedIn would tell people that. So it doesn't seem like I'm not being kind. I'm blowing people off.
Yeah.
But please follow me on LinkedIn, and Instagram, and Facebook as well.
And the book comes out in August, and will the launch party be here in San Antonio?
August, September, fall
Okay.
timeframe.
Fall timeframe.
And yes, and one of the launch parties will be here in San Antonio.
All
The
right.
first launch
first.
party
The
will,
first.
yes, be
You got to
held.
do it here in Mill City.
It will be held in Mill City, absolutely.
Well, real quick, can you give us a couple of nuggets to leave the folks with?
Oh, yeah. Again, wrapping up from our entire conversation today, know who you are.
Yeah.
Be grounded in who you are and own your story. There is no one like you. You are unique. You are special. You are mentoring someone, whether you think you are or not. Someone's watching you.
Yeah.
Own it, because this is all we are promised. And don't take the days for granted, because time is our most valuable gift.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Dr. Shantae Hall, Tay, as I've heard her dad call her, for joining us and sharing her wisdom. Shout out to Johnny Valdez, Veteran SA Magazine, the whole team. Shout out to Chatterbox Studios. Shout out to Nelson for shooting the video for us here in short notice. And lastly, I want to shout out to a veteran-owned business, right? Blue Boy Catering. Shout out to them for cooking great food. Follow them on Facebook or Instagram. This has been the Veteran SA Magazine Episode 2 podcast. We thank you. Salute.